how do you get rich? Rich is all relative. So there's certain things you need to do in order to put yourself in the best position to be rich.
After what we've all been through in the last year, many of us are in a more difficult financial position than ever before. So it might feel like creating wealth might never be in your reach. It might even be difficult to believe that you can ever be financially stable again. But there are ways to create wealth by just changing some habits in the way that you use your money. Let's see how to build wealth from nothing. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that post notification bell so you don't miss anything else from us. The first thing to do is stay positive. While the events of the last year have been enough to make anyone negative, it never does anybody any good. But on the flip side, staying positive does have a lot of proven benefits. If you're positive, you're going to be more likely to see ways to solve problems. But when you are negative, you might become so overwhelmed that it's impossible to see any way out of a difficult situation. The same ends up going for when you believe in yourself. Building wealth takes a lot of time. It very rarely happens overnight. So if you believe that you can reach your goals, it will be easier to do so. When you don't end up believing in it, then it's going to be easier to give up or use your money in a way with the thought that, well, I'm never going to make it anyway, so I could just do whatever I want. So when you stay positive and believe in yourself, you end up creating a mindset that won't give up if you face any setbacks. The next tip is to make more money. I know this sounds much easier than it is, but when you realize your worth, you will be able to create better opportunities for yourself. We all tend to hold ourselves back, so that way it can mean that you ask for that raise that you need or looking for a different job that pays higher. But there's ways to make sure that your income grows at a steady rate. Go for that dream job that you might not be completely qualified for. If someone's passionate enough, they can learn anything. So while you might not get the first job you go for, there will come a time that someone is willing to take a risk on you and end up giving you a chance. That's also true that we all have to work hard at what is available to you right now. It might mean doing overtime or taking a second job, but to get in a good financial place, it needs to be worth it for you. Having less stress and being more stable later in life could be a good reward for working as hard as you can now. Curbing your spending is also very important. There's things that we need in order to spend money on. We've got no choice. Like a place to live, food, transportation. These are all things that aren't really negotiable, but at the same time, you can find ways to keep those costs at an absolute minimum. For example, everybody needs a place to live, but where many of us go wrong is when we look for a home that's very luxurious or even just going a little bit over what we need. When you're at a stage when you're still building, it might be best to live in a relatively plain life when it comes to your home. Getting by with just what you need can save you a lot of money, and the same can even go for food that you buy. Instead of going out for coffee, make it yourself. Instead of buying the most expensive products, buy the brand that's a few dollars cheaper, or maybe get something that's a little older. You can also find a used car instead of buying a brand new one, and don't feel like you have to buy a new car very often. If something is still in good working order and not costing you too much on upkeep, then go ahead and keep it instead of getting a new one. When you're spending less and making more money, you'll be able to reduce your debts. This one is also very important, and you can start saving much more when you're able to live relatively debt-free. Most of us don't want to be able to buy a car or house without a loan, so I know it's not completely practical to think that you will have absolutely no debt, but there is some debt that can end up costing you a lot more than it helps. For example, credit cards have a very high interest rate, so when you use them to buy something, you end up paying a lot more than you would have by just saving and using cash. And if you ever miss a payment on that card, then the interest you pay skyrockets. So paying off these kinds of debts and not making any more debt, you'll be able to save the money that you're spending just by the extra money that you would have had to pay in interest. It is really like paying double for each purchase. It's easier to manage your money when you understand it. By speaking to a financial planner, you can start to understand your own finances better and to understand where you are able to save money or spend less. A financial planner can help you cut costs and see where you're losing money without even realizing it. So it would be a good idea to be able to speak to somebody who can audit your finances and give you a clearer understanding of just what you need to do inside your own personal set of circumstances. There's places where you can end up finding money that you might not realize. Sometimes we hold on to assets that we don't need anymore because of sentimental reasons or just because we don't realize they've got any monetary worth. So by liquidating assets that you don't need or aren't using, you put money back into your pocket instantly. There's also times that you could have money owned to you by banks, the state, or even the government, or even by people you've helped out in the past. But by recovering this money, you'll be able to start on your own journey to build up a nest egg. Another great way to start building your wealth is to save a percentage of your salary each month. This is also very hard, but it's possible. Many people advise to start saving around 15% of your salary or more, but many times, like life, this is impossible. But to save is an important part to anyone building wealth. If you don't save, you're never going to have any savings. It's as simple as that. So even if you only start saving 1% of your earnings and go from there, then it's at least a start. But at the same time, you also need to be careful that when you do get a raise or a new job and get more income monthly, that you don't just live within your means again. By spending more at the end of the day, you don't really see any long-term results. If you get more of an income, you need to make sure that the amount that you save adjusts accordingly. The more you earn, the more you need to save. Then invest the money. Many times, if we only have a savings account where we can easily reach the money that we have saved, we're going to spend it in the end. So, by investing your savings, you make sure that those funds are just a little bit further out of your reach. Remember, we're talking about the long term here, and this money is not to be spent on the first crisis that arises, but rather for later in life to make sure that your wealth accumulates. Investing your money rather than just leaving it somewhere in an account also means that this money works for you. You use the money that you've already saved to create more money that you don't need to work for. It really does have a snowball effect. You could also invest in real estate. While this is more risky than just investing your money, it can also have a bigger payout. It's a way to start a business for yourself. When you invest in real estate, you can have the added bonus of receiving funds each month from your tenants. But at the same time, you also need to manage your real estate, and it's also a danger that you could get tenants which might not pay in time or not at all. So, before you invest in real estate, make sure that you are up to it and you know exactly what you're going to get yourself into. Also, make sure of the market in your area. Some areas have a big need for rental properties, and others in other rentals aren't in as high of demand. It might also depend on the type of property that you buy, like a single-family home or an apartment. Some people have had very little, if any, luck when investing in real estate and in becoming a landlord. But for others, the risk was a huge payoff. This was their way to becoming financially stable and wealthy and creating a path to success. But just like I said, make sure that you know what your plan is and what you're getting yourself into. Never go into it blindly, but make sure to practice good money management. This really means how you handle all aspects of your finances and all the little details that are personal to your own finances, as well as how you manage your spending. For example, use debt orders for all of your recurring payments, and make sure that your credit card is paid by the date that it's supposed to be, so as to ensure that you don't accumulate any more interest until you're able to pay off the debts. These are the things that are personal to you, and again, it might help you to speak to someone that can help you set up a plan on how to do this. It may not be easy, but there's always ways that we can build wealth. Good luck on your journey, and thanks for watching.